Hey guys, so I was just gonna I got some time. Jackson is sleeping right beside me, and I just want to talk a little bit about my labor and delivery. It's a little bit getting fuzzier, so I wanted to hurry up and just get it out here and let it be known. So if you don't know, my prenatally, around 23 weeks out of my anatomy scan, my son was diagnosed with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. The right side of his heart is the only functioning side of his heart. So he's had to have one major open heart surgery as of now. Anyways, my labor and delivery story is a little bit eventful, just because it was so quick. I had a scheduled induction for April 2nd, which is the same day Jackson was born. It was scheduled for 8 o'clock in the morning. But there was some miscommunications that were going on. I called the hospital because I was told I would be called the evening before to be told what time to come in. I was told that the nurse would call me between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning, I think. And so I'm sitting there, going, okay, why can't you just tell me now and I not have to, not sleep well, wondering when I'm going to get a call. I never got a call. I didn't sleep very well that night just because of all the anticipation of everything that was, going on. So around 5 o'clock that morning, when I hadn't heard anything, I went ahead and called labor and delivery myself. They said that they were really, jam-packed. They didn't have any room for me, and that they would call me when they had room. Well, by 8 o'clock, I still hadn't heard anything, so I called back, and they said, oh, just come in whenever. Okay, just 4 hours ago, you told me, you would call me, and I hadn't heard anything. So, anyways, we started, getting everything together. They weren't in any big hurry for me to show up, so I wasn't in any real big hurry to get there. I was still kind of in denial of the severity of everything. So around 8:30 or so, I had, we had finished getting ready. Everything was packed in the car, ready to go, and we headed off. We did stop by IHOP and grabbed something to eat, and I even posted on Facebook about eating IHOP, and everybody's like, they're letting you eat before? Well, they didn't say I couldn't eat, and I was prepared for a pretty long, stay. So, I ate a big breakfast, and we got to the hospital about 10 o'clock, the Texas Children's Women's Pavilion. I got up to labor and delivery around 10 o'clock. They didn't get me back there till almost 11, and my doctor's office hadn't faxed over any orders or anything like that. So I'm just sitting in, this hospital room, this delivery room, and nothing's going on. Finally, at 1 o'clock, started Pitocin. I was already 3 centimeters dilated when we got there, so she went ahead and broke my water. I hadn't forgotten what breaking the water feels like. It's just very warm. It feels like you're constantly peeing on yourself. And it's kind of weird, that feeling, peeing on yourself and you've got 6 family members in the room with you just chit-chatting away. At 1 o'clock, they started the Pitocin, and contractions started coming and going every minute, 2 minutes. And we were just chatting away. They never checked me after they started Pitocin. Pitocin was, doing its job. I was contracting regularly. Jackson was handling the contractions perfectly. He had the hiccups. I remember he had the hiccups, and you could hear it on the monitor. It was a distinct sound, more like somebody hitting a drum than the heartbeat sound. And then I had another contraction and the hiccup stopped. So that was a memorable moment. That one's going to be stuck in my mind. I think my pain level was, the nurse was like, I asked the nurse, I said, when are you going to check me again? I'm kind of curious on when, she goes, well, we won't start checking you again until, you start feeling pressure in your bottom and everything like that. But I don't expect that for another few more hours. Well, like another hour went by, and I'm like, every 15 minutes or so she would come and say, okay, what's your pain level now? And be like, okay, it's a 6 now. Okay, it's a 7 now. Okay, it's an 8 now. I really, I didn't want to have an epidural. If you remember my past videos, I didn't want one. And then by the time my pain got to an 8, I was feeling a lot of pressure down below. I was like, okay, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. And then so the nurse asked, everybody to leave the room except for Jason. And she came and checked me, and she was like, she was digging around in there, and she's like, okay, you're an 8. And then I repositioned myself back comfortably in the bed, and my body pushed. I couldn't help it, and I said, oh my God, I'm pushing, and I'm not doing it. It's my body's just pushing. And she goes, okay, honey, let me go get everybody. And I said, I want the epidural. And she looked at me and said, honey, we're having a baby. You're not getting an epidural. I was like, okay. And my body just pushed again. It is the weirdest feeling not having any control over your body or anything that's going on with your body. It just pushes. I felt like watching my horse give labor or my dog give labor, that their body just pushes and they can't help it. It's just the natural process. So she's like, don't push. I said, I'm not pushing. I can't stop it. And I was screaming this at her. It was very painful. And Jason's right here with me. He's holding my shoulder during these contractions, and I didn't want to be touched. I just, shook his hand off. I said, honey, I love you, but just don't touch me. And he, he's very understanding. He's an awesome man. He, just like my first son's birth, he looked straight behind me, didn't do anything. The resident doctor came in, and she's like, okay, honey, we're having a baby. And I said, I know. I never took any, like, birthing classes or anything. I felt, I already had one. I know how to do this. The epidural with him quit working, and, I did it then also. I had no idea breathing. You hear on the movies and everything, you go, no, do not breathe that fast. For me, it was, I had to focus all my energy on looking at the resident doctor and hearing Jason in my ear going, okay, babe, breathe. I was like, you're breathing too fast. I couldn't tell him that because I was just focused on watching the resident doctor and following her breathing. And she goes, okay, I see hair. They were going, where's Dr. Kershaw? Where's Dr. Kershaw? And they said, he's on his way. And the resident doctor said, he isn't going to make it. With every contraction she has, I see head. I was having contractions between my body pushing itself. And with the next push my body did, I felt the ring of fire. It wasn't as bad as it was with Marshall, because he was 2 pounds lighter than Marshall. But I felt the ring of fire. His head came out. So my body just rested for a little bit, and it pushed again. Ooh, shoulders, ring of fire again. Ouch. And then the doctor said, okay, push, so I could get the rest of him out. And I did a little bit of a push. He came out. I don't even remember. I don't think he was crying. The NICU team was, there, everybody, it was rushing in as I was pushing, and I would look around and it would seem like such chaos going on, but it had a rhythm to it. It was like listening to a symphony or something in the big parts of a symphony. It was amazing. They all knew what they needed to do, even though it looked chaotic, because it was so quick. This was, my friends, at 4:40 is when all this started happening. Jackson was born at 4:54 p.m. That was an almost 4-hour labor. 4 hours from Pitocin to him being born. I was expecting to be there for another, for about 6, 7, 8 hours. Marshall was born in 6.5 hours. I cut that time in half. My body just knows what it's doing when it's having a baby, and it just does it. It's very proficient at what it does. After he was born, he was taken straight over to the warming table. The NICU doctors were, working on getting his line set through his umbilical cord. While I was getting checked into the hospital, waiting in the delivery room, the nurse came up to me and asked, "Do you mind if any residents come and partake in this process?" I said, "No, I don't mind." Believing at that time, I thought it was only residents, caring for me and everything like that. But once I realized that it was more of a teaching process going on over here with Jackson, trying to set his lines and everything, it made me very weary, because they were sitting. I was sitting there watching them and crying because it was taking so long, and I realized that one of the doctors was giving a resident instructions on how to do this, and it got to the point where I was fixing to say, okay, you need to let somebody that knows what they're doing, really know what they're doing, do this, because it's very important. And one of the nurses came to me and said, his prostaglandin has already started, and that's the medication. They're just trying to work on it. The other umbilical line for fluids and everything like that. That eased my mind, just a bit. But I knew time was critical for him. At this time, he's crying. He looks pink. He looks healthy. And eventually, like a minute later, the doctor said, "Okay, just let me do this." It had been too long for that anyway, so they couldn't set a fluid line through his umbilical cord. But his prostaglandin, the thing that was going to keep him alive, had already been started, and that made me feel better. My nurse was amazing. She's a traveling nurse, and she told the NICU team to please let her hold her baby. And I did. I got to hold Jackson before they took him away. And I got a picture, and I'll go ahead and insert it now. I look like crap, but I don't care. So I got to hold him for just a minute. And it was amazing, because I didn't think I was going to be able to. And literally, it was just a minute, and the nurse said, "Okay, we got to take him." And I understood that. So they took him off. Jason sent me pictures and everything. As they got settled into the CVICU, he went straight to CVICU. And by 7:30, I was in postpartum. It was a long time. It felt like forever. So I got into postpartum. They had a pump in there waiting for me. My nurse came in and said, when do you want to start pumping? I said, right now. I want to pump right now. Because usually when it was with Marshall, he was born, he was cleaned up, he was given back to me, and I started being able to breastfeed him. And I knew it was crucial for me to start pumping. So I started pumping. I got colostrum. I got like a half an ounce from altogether, but it's all it took. It's, you know, it was amazing being able, because I know sometimes first time pumping you usually don't get anything, and I got half an ounce combined, and the nurse was like, oh my god. I was like, I know, my body knows what it needs to do, and it's doing it. So that is my labor and delivery story. It was quick. It was amazing. I got to hold him, and I would change only one thing, and that's having my son be sick. But you wouldn't know it now, and it was amazing. I did it all by myself. After I had him, the nurse, you know, they were all like, how do you feel? How do you feel? And I said, I feel like I just woke up from a nap. I feel rested, and I'm ready to go see my son. They said, well, hold on, we got to get you settled in and everything like that, and check your bleeding and everything. So they made me have, you know, my first urination, and I peed like forever. And I was finally able to go see him around 8 o'clock. Jason came back to the pavilion and wheeled me over to the West Tower, and I'll go from there in another video. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you're having a heart baby, you have to have faith in your baby, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is. And love your baby and cherish every minute you have with them. And I'll talk to you on my next video. Bye.